Hey there, everybody. I am trying to find a way to convert a wood pile into something I can use for this property, for the yard. So, I don't have all the right tools that I need for this job, but what I do have here is my Delta job saw, or contractor saw. And it's just a 10-inch, so it's not really designed to do any large pieces of wood, but I saw the pile over there and I thought I could make this wood serve something other than having wood burnt. In other words, I knew that this was unmilled wood and I could put it to use if I found some way to use it for landscaping. And I thought the uncut stumps probably wouldn't have yielded a lot of square footage, but if I chopped them up into 1-inch pieces, I could make it both have a flat side to create a path or to do other things in the landscape with, but also that I could save material and extend the wood that I do have. Now, that said, since I have this 10-inch saw, I can only go so high. And so what I've done is I've successfully created little planks. The planks are going to be then brought to the chop saw, and I'm going to create a point so I can use these as stakes. And right now, as you can see, the wood is like, I'm trying my damnedest not to burn it. And I had a dull blade already on there to begin with, so that's why I even attempted this. I don't think I would have done it if I was trying to preserve a really nice blade. So, but while I was doing it, what I would do to create a flat side was take a 2x4 and I would attach the 2x4 to one side of the log and screw it in, and then that would allow me to use this along the guides, and the fence has something flat to go up against, and when it rides up against that, I can get a straight cut. Once I created a flat edge, it would end up into a piece like this. So this was a board, a little log that conforms to my height, and I took one side out, but this time, instead of nailing a 2x4 on it, I just found out that, well, it was flat enough that it would stay in place and it would allow me to create a flat side. So now I'm at the point where this flat side can be thusly measured to 1-inch sizes. So my goal is to have somewhat a uniform thickness to create what will be sand paths through the property. So check this out. You can see me without my head chopped off. So I have this Delta saw, and once I turn it on, I got my earplugs in, got my goggles on, got my push stick. I can set the machine for exactly 1 inch or just enough that I can clean one side. So my goal right now is to clean one side. That's where I've set it. Now that I have a flat edge, I can push it onto the blade, and I'm just going really slow. Now that I have a cut that came from this flat side, even though the blade didn't quite reach it all the way, well, it kind of did. So you see, I've created a flat edge. Now this one, I can clean it up a little bit on one side. And now I have a nice log with two flat edges. And I believe this is ash. It was a parasite tree growing on the property. I chopped it down, I let it dry out, and this could be used for something really, it has interesting character to it. So it seems criminal that I'm using it for something as a landscape job, but that's better than burning it up, right? So now that I have a flat side, I put my job saw at 1 inch since I want to have 1-inch stakes, and see how many I can get out of them. Maybe 1.5 or 2.5 out of this piece. Now, I went through one side and it didn't quite clear, so I'm going to turn it over. But it makes it a lot easier now that I have this flat edge. So I can pretty much guess where it's going to be. Well, As you can see, there's a lot of imperfections in the wood itself. There are all these crevices. I think maybe from drought. I don't know. These trees were really struggling to stay alive, even though they were a parasite. And now this particular board is probably not strong enough to do something like indoor furniture or something really nice. So I think this will make a good stake. And I'm going to make another one. So now I have 3 pieces at least out of this one piece of wood. You know, it's a little imperfect. They're going to be for landscaping, so I'm not really worried about having edges. Now, let's just remember, if I was doing this right, this would be at least a bandsaw, if not something like a mill. So there you have it. Now I'm going to take this to the chop saw. So here I am back at the chop saw. Now I've realized that each piece really is a different case, so I don't have such a uniformity that I can come up with a system and chop them all the same way. So what I've decided to do is, well, the part that's going to be driven into the ground, the pointed side obviously, I really don't need to conform. So I'll just chop it and kind of eye it the way I see, and just so long as I have a flat edge that I can hammer into the ground for a stake, it should be all right. So now, from point to point, obviously this needs to be the sharp end because of its inherent shape, the way it came out. This piece is closer to a 2x4, and I'm going to judge and how I'm going to cut it differently. So I put a little angle on my chop saw, viced it down, and I'm just going to kind of eye it like this and make sure it's really sitting up against the fence. And voila, I've created a straight edge on one side. That's going to be a part of my stake. And I can flip it over and do the same thing. Just make sure I'm up against the fence. And not the best triangle, but you know, I'm trying to make something that I can drive into the ground. I don't think it has to be so exact, so that's what I'm going to kind of go with. I'll make it generally a stake that I think would drive well. Now, here's what I've discovered. I'm like thinking some of this wood is beautiful. I mean, it's criminal to chop it up, and then I look at some of how interesting some of the pieces are. Look at the character in this wood. I mean, yeah, it's a little burnt because I didn't take the care to go real slow on the machine, on the saw, but this would be something spectacular if I could use it for something like siding. Now look at this. If I just take the chop saw and make a flat edge, I could do a shingle type of siding. So that's what I think I'll do. I'll do a shingle siding for the front of this building that I'm working on, and I'll use the wood on the property that I chopped around it to try to make way for the building. What could be better? So here's reusing wood and materials, and make sure you wear your earplugs, make sure you wear your safety goggles, and get creative. That's what I'm doing. Take care. Thanks.